Welcome back to the Recliner Reviews. Today we're talking about an iconic college movie, and that movie is
National Lampoon's Animal House.
Let's go!
I say iconic college movie. We've talked about a lot of college and high school themed movies. There's so many of them. We're going to talk about a lot more, I'm sure. But this, 40 plus years later, is still number one, and it's not really arguable, I don't think. I mean, you can argue anything, but the reason I say that is I think pretty much everything after this is derivative in some way of Animal House.
Yeah, for sure. This set the bar for that type of comedy, that type of movie. And no better way to do it with this group of people and this storyline.
Great cast of people, great storyline. And it's like the classic, like I said, everything's derivative of it after. So like movies we've already talked about too. They're all kind of fuck ups. They're all buffoons, which somehow makes them more endearing, but also like it's not like Revenge of the Nerds where it's like these are upstanding citizens, like they suck. And then it has the classic dean, principal, evil stereotype of the authority figure in the school wanting to crush them. So it's very like it's a dynamic you see in a lot of these other school movies, but this is one of the first, the best. It set the bar, like you said, and the performances and the way it was, like the casting was so perfect, and that's why I think it puts this over the top of any other movie in this realm.
Yeah.
And like I said, everything else is derivative of this.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the one other thing that it has is this could be a Chicago movie because the mayor of the town is all like mobbed up and threatening the president of the university. So
Filmed in Oregon.
Yeah, at the University of Oregon.
Yeah.
They originally wanted to film it at Mizzou.
ZOU. Forever.
But they couldn't get the rights to Mizzou because the president of the university read the script and was like,
Nope.
Do you think Mizzou regrets that, or do you think it's? I always wonder with that kind of stuff. Like you said, Jane Byrne almost didn't greenlight Blues Brothers.
yeah.
Like I feel like she or the city in general would have regretted that.
Probably, but I mean, Oregon allowed the movie, but it was only because the president said he had no idea how to read a script, and so he was just like, yeah, okay, let's do it. But he ended up liking the movie, and he ended up liking everything. But he said, like, got to make sure that like nothing says University of Oregon, nothing is indicative of like the campus necessarily. Like it has to be kind of an anywhere campus.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact that like some of these people, I mean, maybe it's a power hungry thing. Maybe it's they think that it looks poorly on their image. But in reality, it's like you watch a movie like this, you're like, why would I not want to go there? Like that's awesome. Like that's really cool.
Any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
In some way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. The thing that always strikes me is that, and having gone to two different universities, every university has that one house, whether it's a fraternity or not, because not every school has fraternities, of course, but whether it's a fraternity or not, that is a shithole house. Like exterior shithole, interior shithole,
Yeah.
like across the board, you can think like, oh yeah, like I went to whatever university, you go down, it's this house over here on this street. It's such a shithole. They used to have huge parties, ragers, like, I don't know, I feel like that also helps. So we talk about whether it's how people connect to these movies. It's, well, I can see my experience in this movie.
100%. It's super relatable because even it's like on my campus, like Greek life wasn't huge. I wasn't in a frat or anything, but we had a frat on campus that I think two in my time that got suspended for different reasons. One, you can do your own research to figure out who it is, but the son of a powerful had to go to the hospital for getting hazed. He had to like chug a bunch of champagne bottles and had to go to the hospital. And that was like a big deal because his dad was the and that campus got in trouble and another that is like sexual harassment and all these things. Like, it's so super relatable, the idea of this house, a collection of dudes. This wouldn't work with girls. Like, sororities are kind of with it a little bit more and don't do stuff like this and kind of keep the house nice, as far as I know. A collection of idiots that are just making horrible decisions on campus.
Well, I mean, horrible decisions is, I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's a college rite of passage.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
You know,
I mean,
like,
my GPA never dipped to 0.0.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
where I understand this and kind of relate to this is, I was in a fraternity when I was in college, and I relate to this because, with one element. So like the whole thing of the like hazing and everything that you see with the other fraternity, I can't think of which one, not the Deltas, but the rival one that Kevin Bacon pledges or whatever, and they're getting paddled like.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Like that whole stuff, like hazing and stuff, that was never a part of my experience.
Yeah.
I could understand, I guess, maybe some of them had that, but that was never a thing for me. But like, when you joined it and they brought you in and they like gave you a pledge name and everything, like they kind of, Belushi's over there giving them pledge
Pluto.
pins and like,
Yeah.
he's saying, you're this, you're this,
Flounder.
you're this. Like, at my fraternity, we had like different families, right? So it's like this group of people.
You can just admit you were in the mafia. You don't have to say you're in a fraternity. We know you're Italian. That's fine.
Well, look,
It's your
I don't
family.
want to. We're talking not about mafia movies right now. When we talk about mafia movies, we can talk about that. But right now, we're talking about fraternity movies. So I'm talking about it in terms of fraternity. So
Same concept.
same concept. Like it's not like that. And it's you had these different families that you would like. One was called like the dog family, and so like they did cartoon dogs. So like your pledge name was Scooby Doo or whatever cartoon dog there was, right? Mine actually happened to be Animal House, and ironically enough, the guy that was my pledge dad or whatever called me Bluto because he thought I looked like Belushi.
How did you take that?
I took it fine. I'll tell you that in a second. But I mean, you can see like my face, right? And you put a picture of Belushi right next to me. Like there are maybe some similar features because I think he was Armenian, and that's not too far from Italy. So there's a lot of like similar facial features, but I don't see it. But so the night that like we started the pledge, let me take a step back. When they're going through the slideshow and being like, oh, this guy,
Yeah.
do we want to give them a bid or like let them come? Like that's 100% accurate.
Larry Kroger. All in favor?
Yeah. We need the dues.
Good. Larry Kroger is now pledged to Delta Tau Chi. Next slide, please, D-Day.
You
Right.
went through and was like, Joe Kaiser, do we want, like, we didn't have a picture, but we're like, Joe Kaiser, did you meet him?
Just a minute. Just settle down. This is
Joe Kaiser. But so then you go and you get the pledge pins or whatever, and you get the names. Well, my pledge dad was like, you look like Bluto, so we're calling you Bluto. And he gave me a bottle of Jack Daniels. And talk about stupid decisions. This is, to this day,
I know where this is going.
one of the stupidest. I mean, look, I did a lot of stupid things in my day. But this was probably the stupidest because it's the most reckless. So he gives me the bottle of Jack Daniels. He's like, oh, you want some mixers? We got some Coke in the fridge. I was like, nah, you call me Bluto. I'm going to be just like Belushi. And so I chugged this bottle. I didn't drink the whole bottle at the time, but I chugged like half of the bottle and then finished the rest of the bottle over the course of the night, which was really dumb. Whatever. But like, now, of course, you look at this movie and you find out this was, as we talked about, on Blues Brothers, where they were trying to keep Belushi sober. When he chugs that bottle of Jack Daniels, it's actually iced tea.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
which even that is difficult.
Like, even that is difficult, but he did it.
Thanks. I needed that.
But like, I'm a stupid college kid, and I did that, and I was like,
What happened? What happened to you? You yakking the rest of the night?
I booted and rallied, and then like finished the rest of the bottle, and then I had an 8 a.m. bio lecture. And I got my ass up and went to my 8 a.m. bio lecture and just went along with my day.
That's impressive. and I admire the commitment to the bit, because I think in that situation, if somebody named you Bluto and handed you a bottle of Jack Daniels, you have to do exactly what you did. Your bar for stupidest thing you've ever done is not that bad. So
I'm not saying that's the stupidest.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. I thought that was
that
the
is
stupidest.
that is up there among the stupid things that I've done.
We don't have to go through the laundry
statute
list.
of limitations probably hasn't cleared on some of the other stupid things
Sure.
I've done. I say that jokingly. It's not actually.
Yeah.
I don't think I did anything illegal. I don't think. Other than underage drinking. Which is
whatever. Who
illegal,
gives a
but
shit?
that's. But yeah, so I mean, like, and there were other people that did a lot of other stupid things, but the idea of these fraternity people like doing stupid things, right, and like making stupid mistakes that they do in this movie, in Animal House, like, yeah, like 100%. And I know the people like in some of the other ones, the other houses that were at either the universities, and like, yeah, absolutely. And some of them I watched get kicked off, kicked off campus because they did stupid things.
Right.
This movie, though, like, I don't know, I feel like it toes a line, right? Because, like, there are some very questionable things that happen in this movie. Because I feel like everything in this movie is learning that you fucked up.
Yes.
Like, you did something, and then learning that you fucked up.
Yeah, or even when you know deep down you fucked up, the scene where they're all in the dean's office and he's reading their GPAs. Like, they know they're not good students, but that is hilarious when they're going through reading GPAs.
Daniel Simpson Day has no grade point average. All courses incomplete.
You have no GPA. Like,
Yeah.
that's fucking hilarious. Like, it's all these guys who are fuck-ups but don't comprehend their actions.
Yeah.
And then the humor comes from realizing all their fuck-ups throughout it.
Yeah, I mean, it is like, it's the consequences for whatever stupid thing that they did. Like, when they take the horse, right? As revenge, we're just gonna, like, joke around, whatever, and then he fires the cap gun.
Yeah.
Or the blanks, and the horse has a heart attack and dies. Like, oh shit, now, like, I have consequences for this thing. Like, I don't know. I feel like the why it's a relatable movie.
Yes.
Like, you may not have partied a lot in college, but, like, I feel like you know people who did, or, like, you heard stories about people who did, or, like, there's some relationship there.
I can't tell you about the times I went to class and like, that wouldn't be funny.
Yeah.
The few times I went to class, or like, I did well on this paper. Like, everything else in college is not funny except for the stupid times, the times when you're growing up and you're learning, you know, you have to fuck up a little bit. That's part of growing up. And those are the funny times. Those are the times you remember from college. Those are the times I remember from college. All the stupid things that we did, chugging bottles of Jack Daniels, having Four Loko, like, just bananas things that we did. And that's why it's funny, and that's why it's relatable, because the people watching it think back to their college experiences and probably think of the dumb things that they did. Like, my dad made this required viewing. We all saw, my siblings and I all saw it, because this is my dad's favorite movie, and we all saw it with my family like a million times. But right before we went to college, it was required viewing. Like, we have to watch Animal House. We think it was just an excuse to watch Animal House.
Sure.
And it's still, like, it connects. Like, he wasn't wrong to show it. It's like, even though I went to college like 30-something years after this movie came out, there's still things that I can relate to and be like, I did that. I didn't do the things of, like, climbing a ladder and, like, watching women change.
The lie detector determined that was a lie.
But, like,
Yeah.
just being stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if a kid going to college now, today, watches this movie, they're going to not get it, because again, like, there's a lot of, because I don't know, I feel like, you know, the idea of, if there is a fraternity on campus, or there are fraternities on campus, like, the idea of hazing has probably been, like, written out. You know, like, whatever traditions that they may have that might be like, because of the fact that some of these, like, or if it is hazing, it's like not like hazing, like getting spanked with a
Probably.
paddle, because you read these stories, like, you see in the news, like, so and so, you know, ended up in the hospital from a hazing incident and is suing the school and is suing the fraternity or whatever, or, like, you know, as a prank, this fraternity did this and then they got kicked off campus. So I don't know. I guess I feel like it's more of a thing now where not only are the fraternities trying to be, like, proactive about it and say, like, don't do this stupid shit. Like, I know that you used to do this stupid shit. Like, this was a tradition for you all, but don't do it anymore because it'll get you in really big trouble. And then like because of the turnover, right? Because you only do those traditions because somebody before you did the traditions, and so like the younger people now might go like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that.
I can't fathom anybody I know doing something like that. Because we take, like, going into college, I don't know if this is true for you too, we had to take a class on alcohol consumption, like an online course. I know they didn't have internet when you went to college. Yeah. But when I went to college, we did this thing called Alcohol EDU, where you had to learn about alcohol consumption and like the appropriate ways. Like if you're drinking, alternate. Water didn't do that. Between the years of 2011 and 2015, I did not have a glass of water. How to talk to, like, how to treat women and all this stuff. You had to do this course before going to college, and it wasn't just at my Jesuit school. It was like other schools did this too, and they're like very reinforce all these different things about your behavior when you drink and all this stuff. And then like the example I mentioned, the fraternity getting kicked off campus, and that was like 2014, 2013. From that fraternity had to adjust and say, okay, we can't make our pledges chug champagne bottles anymore.
Yeah.
And that, which is already probably a lesser hazing than the generation before them. So I think you actually might be right in that. Like, there are still probably fraternities and sororities that do some form of hazing, but the more they get caught, the less and less it's going to be extreme.
Yeah, and I don't know. So I feel like, again, somebody going to college now might not see it. They might still think it's funny, but like they might not connect as much to this movie.
I could see that.
I want to ask though, was it odd for you watching that scene with Donald Sutherland where he's smoking up the students?
Yeah.
Like, again, like, it's controversial. Like, it's supposed to be, like, controversial because it's smoking weed, which is not controversial anymore. Like, I feel like in movies, in media, all of these things, like, that's not a controversial thing anymore.
Yeah.
But smoking with a professor?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it maybe, again, like, there is a generation gap a little bit between us. So, like, from when I was in college and when you were in college. Like when I was in grad school, which is a different beast, like we went out for beers with our professor. And like
in grad school,
at
though,
grad
that
school,
is different.
in grad school, which is a different thing. But like, I don't know. I guess I feel like that's like it's still kind of a taboo. Like not necessarily the smoking weed with the professor, but like any type of relationship outside a classroom with the professor.
I was close with a few professors, and like we had texting when I was in college. So like I think I would text with a few professors too, and nothing like, hey, let's go get beers or anything. Like I worked in a newspaper. It was like newspaper related or like stuff for class. So that was common. I don't think that really crosses the line, but it could. Mm-hmm. And I've heard of examples of like inappropriate relationships. You hear of it every now and again, but like, I don't know. I mean, they're consenting adults because they are in college. It's not like high school. Where it gets even weirder though is when he sleeps with a student.
Yeah,
so
for
like,
sure.
I don't know. I think the smoking pot part wasn't as weird. It's then the next thing where it's like, I'm like almost pissed off, even though it's like he would get fired, but it's technically legal. But
sure,
it's still, that's when it gets weird.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird.
What do you think is the funniest, like laugh out loud funniest moment in the whole movie? I have a take.
Oh, that's tough.
It is tough, but I gave this some thought.
Funniest laugh out loud moment.
I think it's the cafeteria scene.
I'm a zit. Get it?
Yeah. I would say just before the cafeteria scene. I love the see if you can guess what I am right now. I do like that. I do like that line a lot. That whole scene was actually like they did it in one take.
That's amazing.
Because they said to everybody, get in there, do like an actual.
Well, that's the best way to do it too, because like doing a second take of that would be awful.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, like, just let the camera roll and let people go nuts, and then you got enough usable stuff. Kind of like how we filmed the show.
Yeah, exactly how we filmed the show.
But like then like the horse dying, which, I mean, I'm not saying an actual horse dying is funny, but that's funny. Like. There are a lot of laugh out loud moments, but the one that I think is the funniest and the one that I probably quote the most is, what am I That was it.
Yeah, I've quoted that.
And then Belushi just going through the line and taking
Yes.
stuff and biting the golf ball
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
I do like the scene where the ROTC is out on the yard and they're golfing.
Yeah.
Apparently that's based on a real, I think John Landis, because a lot of this is based on his college experience and some of the writers, their college experience, and I guess that was something that was actually like
That's funny.
they used to like hit golf balls at people.
That's hilarious.
So that's always a good one. The guitar scene is always a good one too.
I gave my love a story that had no end. I give.
With the guy on the
yeah.
stairs, because
Yeah.
you know, like in college, there's always that one guy that at a party, I got my guitar, I'm gonna play some. In our case, maybe not as much your case, maybe more my case, but like I'm gonna play some Dave Matthews because you know
Yeah.
that guy who's playing his guitar, he was literally playing Dave Matthews. Like that's all that he knew how to play.
Right. And he probably said, "I want to play some Dave."
Yeah, I want to play
He's
some
on a
Dave.
first name basis
Yep,
with the guy.
exactly. His buddies with him. But the smashing of the guitar was improvised. That was not in the script.
That's
So
good.
the reactions that you see from the women who are on the stairs fawning over the guitar dude, legit.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I feel like there's not as much improvisation in this movie as in a lot of like comedy movies, but it didn't need it. Like, I feel like
The script was so good.
it was just written the way that it needed to be written.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if it's based off real college experiences. Anything real that you can pull from is going to be funny. You can make it funnier.
Yeah, for sure. This was Belushi's first movie, but he was
yeah.
kind of a star already
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
Saturday Night Live. But this is Kevin Bacon's debut, and this is Karen Allen's debut. So that's pretty cool that like you'd be like, this is my first movie. My first movie was Animal House.
Right. Yeah.
And like I'm a star now, or have had a decent or successful enough career, but like my first movie was Animal House.
Yeah,
That's a
something.
pretty cool thing to say.
That's something. Did you ever watch the spin-off show Delta House?
It's true. Jim Blutarsky. That animal has a brother, and he's transferred to Faber.
Was it recent?
No, it was in your heyday. I think it was on ABC.
No. And I thank God that I didn't know about it or pay attention to it.
Neither did I. I was kind of hoping you would because I know nothing about it. It must
No.
have flopped.
I know that they were going to do a sequel of this movie
Right.
that was supposed to be based off of Karen Allen getting married to, what's his name, and then
Which
getting
they could have
divorced.
have done because they said where everyone went.
Yeah.
They could have done any kind of.
But I don't want them to.
No, I don't want them to either. But it wouldn't have been as worse as like Blues Brothers 2000 or Coming to America
Oh, for
they
sure.
they made they said where everybody went after, and they could have done a standalone movie that didn't have anything to do with Animal House.
Yeah.
They didn't have to reference back to Animal House.
Yeah.
So I think they could have done something with one of the characters if they really wanted to, and maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But it's good that they didn't.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that there's enough references to movies in other movies. So like in Blues Brothers at the end where they like have they have the credits at the end, they actually reference Animal House. So at the end where they say Babs became a tour guide at Universal Studios, at the end of the credits in Blues Brothers it says like Universal Studios is the logo. It's like ask for Babs or say hi to Babs or something like that. So it's a reference to this movie to that one character. So we go back to unfortunately with Belushi and the whole thing with him and his crappy younger brother who has his fame. There is actually two of the actors in this movie were also in Tommy Boy 2, otherwise known as Black Sheep.
Hello, Bozo.
Paramount Pictures presents
Are you or are you not the Black Angel of Death?
Chris Farley.
Power to the people!
God, I'm a devil.
in Spain.
Hey, gang. Is there an Opie convention in town?
And that's D-Day and Otter were both in that movie.
Okay.
They are the only two actors to have ever acted with Belushi and Chris Farley.
Oh, that's something.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, both of them unfortunately met a tragic end.
Yeah.
But like to be in a movie with both of those actors.
That's wild.
Yeah, and it's only those two as far as I can tell. It's only those two. So, so do you know Robert Cray? You familiar with Robert Cray? So Robert Cray is a phenomenal blues guitarist, and he actually is in Otis Day and the Knights as the bass player. But this was before he became famous. So like he was just trying to make it as a musician, and like this is how he got his start. And then now Robert Cray is like the Robert Cray Band, fantastic music, like really good. But yeah, small world that he did this. And it's further to note that Otis Day, because this movie made him so popular, he actually legally changed his name to Otis
I knew
Day.
that. Yeah.
That was not his actual name. So good on him for like dedicating to that bit, you know, like.
Yeah, and that's a funny scene too. Even if it's like a little, like the racial element to it might be weird, of like the white girls being afraid.
We are gonna die.
But that's also like hysterical when they walk into the bar and it's just like a record scratch. That's up there too for me.
Yeah, that whole scene is like, it's awkward, and I think the awkwardness holds up. But I don't think that they like played on like racial stuff.
No,
like,
it wasn't racial stuff. It was just being like a fish out of water.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't belong here.
Yeah.
That happened to me. A quick aside, in New York, a little city outside of Hoboken, New Jersey, where my friends and I were at the corner of Furst and Furst, which, if you're a Seinfeld fan, you know that's Cosmo Kramer's there, and he calls it the nexus of the universe.
Well, what street are you on? Okay, I'm on First and First. How can the same street intersect with itself? It must be at the nexus of the universe.
And there's a payphone right there. So I use a payphone. I called a buddy. I'm like, oh, the nexus of the universe. And there's a bar across the street called the Nexus Lounge, clearly named after the Kramer quote in Seinfeld. I'm like, to my friends, we got to go in there. And my buddy Chris was like, I'm pretty sure it's a gay bar. And I'm like, why would they name a gay bar after a Seinfeld quote? There's no way it's a gay bar. We walk in, literally a record scratch. It was like, all these heads turn, and you slowly walk out. It's like, it's exactly the same thing, except we didn't sit down and have a drink, and then
you actually just like turned right around.
Because it was literally like a record scratch.
Did you pull a Grandpa Simpson?
It was
like
exactly that. Took my hat off the thing and put it back on. Yeah. So I know how they felt in that moment. But also, this last point I'll make, I think, is the event leading up to that with Otis Day and the Knights, lying about the death of a.
Oh yeah.
That is fucked. Like that.
That is really fucked up.
Yeah.
That is like.
And that's not a thing that aged poorly. That's just like.
Yeah, that's just
bad.
like that just fucked up. Like.
But also, what makes it acceptable at the end of it is that the girl knew all along and she just went along with it. So she's a bad person too.
Yeah. I don't know. Two other notes that I got is so the college is Faber College, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what their mascot is?
Do they say it in the thing?
They don't say it, but they have a float with it.
Is it a beaver or
The Faber Mongols.
Mongol?
The Mongols.
Like some Mongolian?
Like the Mongolians, like the Mongols.
So like I don't know if I can say it on the podcast.
The South Park episode.
Hey, fuck you, Mongolian! Don't you break down my wall!
Both that. But just Google it, folks at home, the mascot of Pekin, Illinois High School.
And then I just want to say, like, there is one great thing about this movie that is the epitome of white people, is that you know that if you go to a wedding or you go to a party and they play Shout, you know that a white person is doing the gator, right?
Yeah.
You know that a white person is doing the gator. I'm not saying, look, I have gatored in my day. I'm not suggesting that, like, I am above being white person, but, like, that's the epitome of white people. Like,
Yeah. And it's still at every every single wedding. I was actually having this conversation recently because we're going to weddings like every weekend seemingly this summer because the world opened up. So you had canceled, it's like double headers of weddings. Got the canceled weddings from last year and these. And wedding soundtracks like gained some stuff in the 80s, gained a few things in the 90s, gained some stuff in 2004, but they never like shed things. Like a wedding soundtrack just picks up a couple songs every 10 years and then just keeps the library going.
Yeah.
And that Shout is one of them.
Exactly, yeah. I don't know. Look, I like this movie. I like this movie a lot.
This is in my top 10 comedies
of all
time.
It is a it's a great movie. Like, I know there are some things that are a little dicey, but I think it's not out of the realm of possibility that you're right. It is a top. I would have to go back and see like what my top comedies are, but yeah, I think I might be comfortable saying it's in the top 10 for me.
I think it's solidly in my top 10. I don't know like what order, but it's there somewhere.
Yeah. Maybe Baby's Day Out too.
Hello, Bozo.
Well, Baby's Day Out's ahead of this, they're all in the same echelon.
Yeah.
Score?
So for this, I'm gonna go with 7.4.
Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit higher than you. I'm gonna go 7.7.
7.5?
Ooh,
fuck.
Damn. Well, there you go. There you have it. Animal House.
7.5. That's low.
I mean, yeah, but again, you get dumb people, right?
People are stupid.